We'll go ahead and get started. Jan, you can go ahead and start us off.
Hang on a second. Let me just. Okay.
Is everyone on? And Taras, you'll be the only person that I ask to mute from now on until the workshop begins. So once again, just to introduce myself, my name is Keeland Bowers. I'm the Unfinished Works Coordinator for the Asian American Film Lab for the October and November sessions. Today we have our wonderful writer, Bambine, who's written this amazing script, Against Youth. We have joining us Roger Ye, David Smilow, Georges Bridges, Daphne Macy, and Jan Mizushima, who will be reading parts for Tom King, Morgan, but we'll get to parts after everyone started reading. So Jan will get us start off with narration, and yeah, thank you all so much for watching and joining us. Oh, Jan, are you unmuted? I don't think we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay. Interior, boxing ring night. Before the fight, the ring is empty. Spectators take their seats. The commentator named Terry Morgan and Frankie Corbett are talking on camera.
Well, what do you think, Frankie? Who's going to win?
I think Sandel.
You think Sandel, huh?
Of course. As cliche it may sound, but youth is on Sandel's side. I have no idea what Tom might even oppose to him.
Well, Tom King might oppose to him his experience. I mean, to say the least.
Yes, experience is, without a question, quite important. But all your doubts will be immediately cleared away as soon as Sandel starts working on Tom King. Speed, drive, aggressiveness. This is what Sandel is all about. And what about Tom King?
Well, and Tom King is all about experience, wisdom, and knowledge. So many victories behind his back.
Well, all right. This makes it all more interesting to follow the course of this most fascinating fight of the qualifying round. I'm Frankie Corbett.
And I'm Terry Morgan, live from the regional boxing competition.
We're the Newcastle Boxing Network, New York. Stay tuned.
Exterior, boxing arena. Entrance, same. The poster hangs on the wall near the door. King versus Sandel, regional competition, qualification tonight. A long line of spectators. They show their tickets and enter. Italian-American spectator named Vinny and GENO argue with each other. Tom King's got no chance.
Come on, everyone's got a chance.
Not in this case, not tonight. Did you even see this Sandel guy?
No, why?
He's a beast.
A beast? Really?
He's gotta lay this old man down in round one. Tom King is a spent material. I don't know how he's gonna decide to go out on a boxing ring. The silhouette slowly appears from the darkness. It's Tom King, a heavyweight boxer. He wears a long coat and a hoodie and carries a bag. He stops for a moment. The spectators notices him. GENO pushes Vinny with an elbow. Tom King walks past the spectators. Is that Tom King? Hey, what's up, old man? Did you get here on foot? Got no cash for a cab or what? I wish you'd have told me. I'd have given you a ride. You could have frozen to death. Some spectators laugh. Syl, Tom's second, Italian-American, smokes a cigarette while waiting for Tom. Tom pats on Syl's back and enters.
Are you talking shit?
Who, me? I didn't say nothing.
No, you're talking too much.
What are you talking about?
You
Who,
want to
I
tell me
didn't say
something?
nothing.
Come on, say it. Say it to my face, can you?
I don't know what you're talking about. Syl looks at Vinny. Vinny looks down.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Now keep your mouth shut, all right?
I could kick axe as if I wanted to.
Yeah, right.
He's nobody without Tom King. The spectators laugh. Interior boxing arena hallway. Moments later, Tom King walks along the dark hallway and enters the dressing room. Interior boxing arena dressing room. Moments later, it's quiet and dark. Tom is changing clothes. This is the first time we see his face, the worn out, focuses face of an Italian-American boxer in his early 40s. Someone knocks on the door and enters. It's Sil.
Hey, how you doing? You ready for tonight? You sleep well? Did you eat well? Hey, what did you eat? Tom, what did you eat? You ate nothing. Am I right? Did I guess right? You ate nothing? I can't buy you lunches no more, Tom. You know that, right? Jesus Christ, what are you even hoping for? What are you counting on? Did you see that guy? I asked you a question, Tom.
I have it under control.
Oh, really?
I know what I'm doing.
Do you? Are you sure? Because I'm not sure. I'm not sure at all.
I'm going to play a waiting game.
Oh, a waiting game. Is that your plan? Anything else I should know?
Tom's finished changing. He leaves the dressing room.
Jesus Christ, he ate nothing. I knew it.
Sil follows Tom. Interior, boxing ring. Moments later, Tom and Sil climb into the ring. The crowd roars. Tom greets the audience and sits at his folding stool in his corner. The commentators are talking.
Now here's Tom King, ageless Tom King. 116 fights in his career. How can he even stand on his feet?
I've got nothing to add, Terry. Tom King is a legend. The crowd always loved him.
But where's Sandal? Where is this daredevil, the embodiment of youth, impudence, and untamable energy?
Sandel, a promising African-American boxer in his early 20s, climbs into the ring along with his second.
There he is, as befits a challenger. He's the second one to show up on the ring.
Sandor takes off his robe and greets the audience.
Just look at him, Terry.
You know what I'm thinking about, Frankie? I think I judged hastily of the possible outcome of the upcoming fight. What do you think?
Well, we'll find out very soon. We're the Newcastle Boxing Network, New York. Stay tuned.
Tom and Sil look at Sandal.
Listen, Tom, I'm sorry about the dressing room. I know you know what you're doing. You'll do great, all right? You'll do just fine.
Referee appears on the ring and calls the seconds. The seconds check the boxers' gloves and put them on their boxers. The boxers get up and approach the referee. Referee briefs them. They nod. The gong sound, and Sandal, swift and clever, starts attacking right away. Tom, slow and methodical, is defending. He blocks, ducks, and clinches.
Sandal, in and out, and in again, landing a left to the eyes, a right to the ribs, ducking a counter, dancing lightly away, and dancing menacingly back again.
Interior boxing arena, office, day, flashback 1. Tom King enters and shakes hands with Kenny, an administrator.
Oh, Tom King, the great and powerful, just like Oz. Have a seat. Coffee?
Sure.
Milk? Sugar?
Yes, please. Separately, if you can.
Tom sits down. Kenny pours some coffee.
How's your wife and kids?
They're fine.
Kenny puts a cup of coffee in front of Tom, milk and sugar separately, and sits in his chair. Tom gets up, grabs another cup, pours milk from a milk jug into it, and adds sugar. He sits down, drinks milk, but doesn't touch his coffee.
So what brings you in here, Tom? What can I do for you?
Listen, Kenny, I want to ask you a huge favor. Can you put me in the next regionals?
You? The next regionals? Are you sure?
100%.
And why are you so sure, if I may ask? When was the last time you had a boxing match? I mean, an actual competitive boxing match?
Not so long ago.
When is that?
4 months ago. Maybe 5.
Or maybe 6?
Yeah, maybe 6. What's the difference?
What's the difference? It's a regional competition. The best boxers of the county are going to be here.
I am the best.
No, you were the best, Tommy. You were. Now, that was a while ago. The times are different now. Boxing's different. It's more, well, it's faster. Speed's way different now.
I know. I know. You don't have to tell me all about it.
I don't know, Tommy. I'll put you in. They'll lay you down in round one.
They won't. I'm gonna choose a special tactic. All right, a new special strategy. All right, all I need is this one fight, Kenny. How much are they paying for the win? What, $3 grand?
$3 grand. But geez, it's not that easy. I mean, what if you?
Come on, say it. Sorry, Kenny. You can say it. You're my guy. I won't be offended.
With all due respect, Tommy, and I don't mean to offend you or anything, but you seem too old for this competition. I mean, look at yourself. I'm older than you, but it looks otherwise.
No, it doesn't.
Well, it does a little. You're trying to compete with youth. You're trying to fight youth, but are you in a position to do that? You don't even look good. Do you eat well?
I do.
Be honest, Tom. I don't want to get in trouble. Imagine I put you and you end up in a hospital. Then your wife comes over and
I won't end up in a hospital. All right? I know what I'm doing. I'm a former champion, after all. I'm an experienced fighter.
yeah, well, experience is nice to have, but this sort of a competition is the matter of the young. I hate to admit it, but I'm afraid to put you in. I'm sorry, Tom. Really am.
Tom finishes all milk in a jug, gets up, heads to the exit, but stops.
I could pay out my rent debt with this money. I don't want to end up on the street with my wife and 2 kids. All right, just one fight. Kenny, that is all I'm asking for. If I lose, I lose. All right, but I'll know that you were there for me, all right? You looked out for me when I needed it the most.
All right, I'll figure something out.
You have no idea how much this means to me. Thank you.
Yeah, but please, for God's sake, you're gonna have to prepare for this fight, all right?
I am.
You promise.
I promise. Thank you, Kenny. You are a good man.
Tom shakes Kenny's hand and leaves. Kenny exhales deeply again, and flashback 1. Interior, boxing ring, night. The ring girl shows the round 2 card. The gong rings, and the boxers approach each other. Sandal keeps attacking. Tom King is defending.
Well, it seems like Tom King chose to play a waiting game. He does not attack at all. I mean, his defense is solid.
It's been very obvious from the very start that Tom tries to save his energy, sort of the strategy he and his team pitched toward this night.
But what will Sandel undertake? Will he be attacking so fiercely, hoping to wear down Tom's resistance?
Vinny, the spectator, jumps from his seat, disappointed. Hey, Tom, what's going on? Why don't you fight? Are you tired already? You ain't afraid of him, are you? The gong rings. The boxers return to the folding stools, their seconds ventilating them with towels and spraying with water.
Did he get here in a cab?
Oh,
The kid.
what, Sandel? I don't know.
Can you find out?
What difference does it make?
Can you find out or not?
Is that really that important?
If I'm asking, it's important.
So leaves, irritated. Tom drinks water. The ring girl shows round 3 card. So returns.
Yes, he got here in a cab.
The gong rings. The boxers get up, and the fight resumes. The 3rd round begins as usual, with Sandal doing all the leading. Tom King defends and looks for a clinch. The spectators are not happy with that. Sandal, overconfident, leaves an opening. Tom's eyes sparkle. He hits Sandals for the first time. It's a hook with the right arm on the side of the jaw. Sandal falls like a bullock. The audience gasps and murmurs, Awe-stricken applause. Sandal tries to roll over and attempts to rise.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Flashback to interior grocery store. Luca, the store owner, Italian-American, argues with Lizzie. Tom's wife, a thin, worn woman in her early 40s.
And why is he standing outside? Why you always do all the talking?
Because he's embarrassed, I told you.
Oh, you're not embarrassed?
I am, but look, he's a man, it's different.
No, he's a man. Exactly. So let him talk. Let him walk in and ask me, like all real men do.
Tom has been waiting outside, but decides to enter.
What's the matter? You want to humiliate me in front of my wife?
There's no humiliation. Just ask me directly. No need to be sending your wife all the time.
You know I can't do that. You know my situation, but you want to humiliate me over and over again, huh?
Ask me. Ask me. Just ask me. That's all I want. I want you to stop sending your wife to me all the time. You need something, you come and talk to me.
Look, it's either you help me or you don't.
Really? That's how you want to talk now? Like I never helped you before? Like I never gave you food for free before?
That wasn't free.
Yeah, you haven't paid for it.
I will pay for it. You know I will.
How am I supposed to know? That's all I hear. I'll pay for it. I'll pay for it. I'll win a fight and we'll pay for everything.
Be like that.
Yeah, like what? I can't do it forever. I got my own family to feed. I got my own expenses. I got to pay my workers. Prices go up, inflation. Now this whole economic crisis thing.
You know what? Forget it. Forget it. We don't need anything from you. Greedy bastard.
Greedy bastard. You keep showing up with an empty wallet and I'm a greedy bastard? I can't believe it.
I may have an empty wallet, but you have an empty heart, all right? I'm gonna win that fight, I'll pay you what I owe, and then we'll be done. Done! Let's go.
Wait,
Tom leaves.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. He left you all alone here again, but it's okay.
He gets a can of the meat sauce from a shelf and puts it on a counter.
Look, I can't give you fresh meat no more, but here, take this. Just add some flour and that should do the trick.
Thank you so much, Luca. We will pay for everything we owe.
She picks up the can.
I know. Don't worry about it.
Tom enters.
Let's go, Lizzie.
He sees the can.
Oh, man. Hey, I'm sorry, Luca. I'm really sorry. You're not greedy. I didn't mean it. You're a good guy, Luca.
It's all right. It's not a problem. I can't give you fresh meat no more, though.
They shake hands. Tom and Lizzie are heading out.
I'll win this fight. They'll pay me $3 grand and I will pay you back.
All right. You want my advice, though?
Sure.
Why don't you go to school? Learn some trade or something. I might even have a job for you in here.
Think about it. Thank you, Luca. You're a real man.
Tom and Lizzie leave. Luca shakes his head. Interior, Tom's apartment. Kitchen, night, flashback to. Tom is eating spaghetti in a meat sauce. Lizzie's in the kitchen.
He's right.
Oh,
Luca. He's right about the school. That never hurt nobody.
I agree, that never hurt.
I should have, a while ago, but I thought I'd always have money. In my age, I think it's too late to go to school.
Never too late. You could go to community school. That's where folks our age usually go.
I still gotta pay for it. Why haven't I saved anything? People said, hey, Tommy, save your money, invest it or something, stocks, real estate, whatnot.
And
I thought I was the smartest guy. Didn't listen to nobody. I've been such a butthead.
don't say that. You're not a butthead.
All right, I'm not a butthead. Just an old boxer. Apart from boxing, I know nothing. I can do nothing. What do I go to school for?
You could stay in boxing. You could study to become a coach, or you could write about boxing for a newspaper.
Yeah. Yeah, I could.
Tom finishes his meal and wipes his plate clean with the last morsel of bread and chews slowly. He gets up, walks around the kitchen, looks out the window. Then he looks out in his veins, large and swollen, on his hands and his knuckles, smashed and battered.
I had a dog once, a bull terrier. Did I ever tell you?
You did.
Yeah, so that bull terrier, I fed him the best meat I could find. You know, I was buying him the same prime beef that I was buying for myself.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. He would bury his nose in the huge pile of prime beef. Only his ears would stick out. just one little piece of steak. Oh God, that'd go a long way. The kids will return from outside. What are you gonna feed them? What are they gonna eat? I ate everything you made.
I'll figure something out. I'll ask for something from our neighbors. Don't worry. You need it more. If worse comes to worse, I'll send them to bed early.
All right, I gotta go.
He walks into their bedroom. Interior, Tom's apartment. Bedroom, later, flashback to. Tom packs his bag, the gloves, shorts, shoes, etc. Lizzie comes from behind and gives him a hug. He stops.
I love you so much.
I know.
She hugs him around his neck. He turns to her. They kiss.
Good luck, Tommy. You gotta do him.
Gotta do him. That's all there is to it. I just gotta do him.
They stand like that for a moment.
I gotta do him. If it's a win, there's $3,000 and I can pay all that we owe. If it's a lose, I get nothing. Not even 20 bucks for a ride home.
You'll win. You'll win, babe.
He kisses her on the forehead, grabs his bag, and heads out. He stops at the doorway and puts on his coat.
I love. I'm straight home if it's a win.
I'll be waiting up.
He leaves. Exterior, street. Moments later, flashback to. Tom walks on a dark, cold, and filthy street. Steam, trash everywhere. And flashback to. Interior, boxing ring, night. Sandal on the floor, tries to roll over and attempts to rise.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Sandal is slowly getting on his knee.
6, 7, 8, 9.
Sandal's on his feet completely, ready to continue fighting. The fight resumes.
How about that? I mean, Tom King still got it.
And what a hook that was. Sandal has to be very careful.
Now, this is getting more and more exciting.
Same montage sequence. Tom King and Sandal keep fighting. Ring girls show cards round 4, 5, 6. Spectators cheer. Ring girl shows a card round 7. Same a little later. Sandal keeps attacking. Tom King is defending and looking to clinch. At some point, the king punches Sandal in the head, and Sandal falls on the floor for the second time. The spectator roars. Referee approaches Sandal.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Sandal gets up on his feet. Referee resumes the fight. Sandal corners Tom King, and Tom misses a couple of blows but doesn't fall. The gong rings. The boxers go to their corners and sits in their stools. Come on, Tom. Get him. You can do it.
You got this, Tom?
Tom King, Tom King, Tom King. Tom King, Tom King, Tom King, Tom King.
Well, Tom King sent Sandel to the canvas twice. Who would have thought?
Phelps told that before the fight. I twist a finger at a temper.
Well, don't rush to write Tom King off, like it or not. He's a former heavyweight champion. I'll give him that.
The break continues. The boxers are resting. Flashback 3. Interior. Boxing ring. Night. Flashback 3. 17 years ago, Tom King, in his early 20s, and his opponent, Starshire Bill, in his early 40s, are in the middle of the ring, sweaty, exhausted, all beat up, post-fight. The referee raises Tom King's hand. Tom King gets a belt and shows it to the crowd. Photographers take pictures. Flashes lit Tom King's face. Interior, boxing arena, dressing room, later, flashback 3. Tom King enters Starshire Bill's dressing room. Starshire Bill is crying. His coach consults him.
Hey, what's the matter? Are you crying? Is he crying?
He's all right. He's just going through a lot.
Tom King puts his hands on Bill's shoulder.
Hey, what's going on? You were good. You fought good. You almost got me. I gotta admit, you almost got me. That's better. All right. You should be really proud of yourself. You really should. For a guy your age, you put up a great fight.
Tom and Bill hug each other. Interior, restaurant, night, flashback 3. Tom, his blonde girlfriend, and his friends celebrate Tom's champion's title. His belt is on the table in front of him.
Are you ready to order?
Honey, be so kind. Bring us a bottle of your best and most expensive champagne. Actually, 2 bottles, and keep them coming.
Sure. Anything else?
Some lobster or whatever. Some nice fancy ones, will you?
Sure thing.
Here, this is for you.
Thank you, sir.
Waitress leaves.
Don't worry, guys. I'm paying. I'm balling tonight.
Waitress comes back with champagne. Tom King shakes the bottle, opens it, and sprays everyone. And flashback 3. Interior, boxing ring, night. It's round 11 of the Tom King versus Sandel fight. Tom King manages to execute a devastating uppercut. Sandel flies back and lands on his head and shoulders. The audience cheers. Referee comes closer to Sandel.
1, 2, 3, 4,
Sandel lifts his head and grabs the rope.
5, 6, 7,
Sandel pulls himself and get on his knees.
8, 9.
Sandel slowly gets up.
You all right? Can you jump for me?
Sandel jumps a couple of times. The fight resumes. They exchange for a while. They're both exhausted, but Tom King has no energy at all. He can't even lift his arms for protection. Tom King loses his focus, and Sandel hits him in the jaw. Tom King falls. Same a little later. Sound gradually returns. Sandel! Sandel! Sandel!
Well, that was a very entertaining fight. I mean, Tom King gave everything he had, but what else could he do?
He had a great fight. He had Sandel on the floor 3 times. He almost got him.
Well, congratulations to Sandel, who advances to the next round. And Tom King, well, Tom King is out. Will he bounce back? Will he ever bounce back, given his age?
Commentators' voices fade out. Tom King opens his eyes. Still, referee. Sandel looks into his eyes. Tom King's in his folding stool. Sil wipes his face and chest with a wet sponge.
Jesus Christ. He's back. Tom, you okay? No, he's all right. He's a tough guy. He's a hard nut to crack. He'll be fine.
Hey, Tom. That was a crazy fight. I just got lucky. Hope to see you around. Respect.
Sandal and Tom King shake hands, and Sandal leaves them. Referee raises Sandal's arm. The Sandal's supporters cheer. Sil helps Tom King get up.
All right, Tom. Let's get out of here. Can you walk?
He gets up, climbs under the ropes, and comes downstairs with Sil's help. As they walk out, some spectators tap on Tom's shoulder. Exterior, boxing arena, entrance, a little later. Tom King walks out the door. Some spectators are smoking. They see him. Hey, Tom King, that was an awesome fight. Tom King covers his face with the collar of his coat. Let's go. I'll buy you a beer.
Maybe some other time.
All right. You almost had him, Tom. You did great. Tom looks at Vinny for a second and disappears into the darkness. Exterior, park, a little later. Tom King is on the bench. He bends forward to puke, but he can't. His stomach is empty. He leans back and relaxes. He looks at his hands and cries. The end.
Amazing. That was truly everything I think we could have hoped and more. Thank you to our entire team for being able to take us through that amazing journey. Jan Mizushima for playing narrator action lines, Vinny, the audience, Daphne Macy playing Lizzie and the waitress, Georges Bridges playing Corbett, referee, Bill's coach, and SANDELL, David Smilow playing Morgan, Kenny, LUCA, and Sil, and finally Roger Gay playing Tom King and GENO. We had 22 people RSVP'd for today's event, but unfortunately, it looks like no one could join us actually in the room today. So instead of an audience-based workshop, we'll probably do something a little more truncated today. And I'd like to have a conversation with our actors and have a little bit more of an actors roundtable to discuss the script. There were a lot of things that really spoke out to me as we were reading. And I think you guys were able to bring so much life and so much thoughtfulness to a lot of these characters that were allowed a lot of it to sing through. And I think a lot of the meaning of the script itself has so much to do with second chances and a new chance at life, seeing, you know, your current circumstances, even if you are older or in your field for a long time or more aged, things can be difficult, but you can still persevere. So I would love to speak to you guys about the script, your personal feelings about your characters, and yeah, I'd just like it to open it up to the table.
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
Well, I thought the script was amazing. And I was wondering, for the writer, I was wondering, at which point did you decide that Tom King wouldn't actually save the day? And I also wanted to know, what is your connection, if any, to boxing?
Taras, can you go ahead and speak on that for a moment?
Yes. So my connection to boxing is nothing. So I'm not connected to boxing at all. I'm not a boxer. I never actually watched boxing matches. I recently went to watch a New York regional competition. I think it was last month or so, but before that, nothing. I just love literature, so I found this short story by Jack London, and I thought it's perfect for a short screenplay. You have everything in boxing. You have protagonist, antagonist, you have struggle, conflict, resolution. So that's my that was my motivation for that. And the first question, what was that?
The second half of the question is what led you to decide on a more negative or depressing ending for Tom? Georges, did I get that correct?
Yes.
So that was in the original short story. So he loses, and I just decided to keep it that way. To keep it, I think it just realistic outcome of the fight. I think he loses the fight, but then he eventually he would shift to something else, something more realistic for his age. He would probably go to school or something. But his illusions of keeping his boxing career ends here, and he actually wins. He wins when he loses illusions to keep fighting as a boxer.
Mm-hmm. And one of the moments that I thought was so interesting was this flashback to one of his first fights and that fight between him and Bill. I really thought that that was an amazing parallel to be able to show us what's going on now in Tom's mind versus SANDELL, and who he may or who he saw himself as a youthful boxer who SANDELL is now, and seeing himself as Bill in that current day status. I think that was such a great way of kind of bringing out the comparedness and contrast of those two moments. Oh, Daphne, did you have something you'd like to?
I was actually agreeing with you. I thought that was such a nice, a nice tie into the theme of this script and showing him, on the other side of this youth versus experience spectrum, like how he was in the beginning and probably couldn't really relate to what the older, more experienced boxer was going through versus now when this is his life. And, it would have been, I feel like there's so many moments in this script that I would have loved to, even learn more about. And that was one of them. Like, how does he feel about that moment, now with his experience? But
Yeah,
I love that it was in there.
Could you speak a little bit more on, before we speak a little bit more on what we'd like to see more of, I just had a question for Taras. Did you see this as a larger piece and wanted to expand it? Or I know you presented this as a contained short, but do you have visions for this as a feature? Oh, Taras? Do we have?
Yes, I started adding scenes. Well, now I have 32 pages, I think. It could be a feature screenplay. And I'm thinking to do it. And I'm happy to hear your thoughts on what you wanna see. How would the story go? What I can add to flashbacks as well. What you want to see from his past. But yes, it's a good idea to turn it into a feature screenplay, and I'm working on it.
That's fabulous. So thinking of this as a larger piece, that's wonderful. Being able to extrapolate from this short onto a larger piece, I'd once again like to open it up to you guys, the actors table, to see what you would like to see more of. And Roger, Daphne, I want to get back to you. But Roger and I had exchanged emails this morning about this being an adapted piece and the fact that it was a Jack London piece. And so I'd just like to touch on that for a moment. And also, it is very interesting once you start taking that. I believe the original work was written in 1909. And so this is, 110 some odd years later. And so it's really an interesting way of taking something that is old but yet so relatable. So yeah, Roger, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
Oh, even you're saying like old but relatable. I mean, it's interesting to hear you talk about it because I think I was first introduced to this piece or the short story back in school. So a while ago. And I think I had like the same, like a very different view of it as I have now. Like back then it was a kind of a cautionary tale, whereas now it's just like, oh, that sucker punched me in the gut. So, I mean, compared to what like a little bit ago to 100 years ago, it's just, I mean, it's still, I love how you can find like different different messages from such like a seemingly simple piece of work that's obviously not simple at all. And the question that I had brought up to you was the just because I know that it's cited as based on the original piece, a piece of steak, the piece of steak. I just wasn't, I didn't realize that what the copyright, whatever, is what 95 years after it's first published or 75 years after the author's passing. So I don't know if it's so much a question as just like a curiosity about just how people go about that, maybe like in creating their own works.
No,
like
that's
navigating that.
yeah, that's super important to know. And when you are going about, when writers go about, you know, choosing to adapt something, choosing to do so, there is a statute of limitations, as it were, to intellectual property. And there are certain estates that, you know, are able to protect the intellectual property of certain writers. But most oftentimes, like with Jack London's work, I believe it's 50 to 75 years after their passing, or nearly 100 years after that original piece has been written. But it is very important to know before you go writing adaptations willy-nilly, to anyone who is watching this retroactively, to please ensure that you have the rights to the work that you are going to be writing. I really wanted to touch for a moment on the relationship that you had with David in the piece, because the way you guys were bantering off of each other, and especially I think of that moment where you were in the grocery store with Daphne, with Lizzie as well. It was kind of that all hands on deck moment with your characters. There was so much that I think was in that moment that was beautifully done. But I would just love, David, if you could speak on that from your perspective.
You mean doing LUCA?
Doing LUCA, exactly. And also, I mean, your interpretation of the piece overall. Yeah, I'd just like to open the floor to you.
Well, for me, the most important thing was to differentiate between these four characters, make sure they were definitely distinctively different. Since you're really hearing this, we're not seeing it, especially on Zoom. And I just finished the production of Greater Tuna, a play where I played 10 different characters. And so there were crazy costume changes. I mean, it was wild. And on stage, the physicality became really important. So in this, I wanted the physicality to be represented by my voice and my attitude. So Luca's a little older than Sil, but they're both they're both Italian Americans. You know, if this was actually back in the day, Luca would probably sound like, what are you talking? You know, he would have much more of an Italian, he would be much more Italian. And I just thought that this is a gruff, frank guy who has a soft spot for Tom. He's a family, he sees that he's a family man, but he probably just wishes, you know, pride is making Tom not come in and do this. But it's like enough is enough, because he can't give him the real steak anymore. And I just thought, you know, it's time to talk turkey, not to confuse meats, but you know, just to have it be that way. And I just when I was working on the script ahead of time, and by the way, I always do it out loud. I don't ever just read the script. I always read the parts that I'm going to be playing out loud, so that I know what it sounds like, and I can get the words in my mouth properly, and also pick up the cues. I find in Zoom that just sometimes maddens me when people are just sort of unfamiliar with the piece, and it takes a long time when we have one shot to do this. Not saying anybody did this today. It was great to have everybody pick up their cues, but in general.
Yes, so, everyone was very on their cues today. Everyone did an amazing job.
So mostly with Zoom, I really find that this is character is really about almost like a radio play. I don't know about how anybody else works. I minimize the picture, I put it right up to the script, and I scroll forward, and I play it like a radio play, so that the words would be sort of right here as I'm looking kind of in the camera, but down, and look up in the camera as much as possible, so that the playwright or screenwriter or director, whoever's looking, or the audience, can actually get as most of an idea of it in general. I think there's so much that's very Zoom specific as far as characterization goes, because if we were really in a room or doing this on a stage reading, there would be a lot more moments to look at each other. We can't really do that. I mean, I'll tell you, for me, Zoom during COVID, when I was doing 1 million play readings on Zoom, it began to feel like as close to the real thing as you could get, but it's infinitely far away. So it was like on Thanksgiving eating a picture of a turkey. That's what Zoom is to me for reading screenplays and plays. You know, it's like, this is as close as we can get, but it's not anything like the real thing. So I think we have to listen. I think we have to perform through a kind of filter, and I think we have to listen through a special Zoom filter. And that's why I think the notion of doing it almost as a radio play will help the writer. You can ask Taras if that's actually true.
Yeah. And Taras, did you feel like this kind of reading, this type of performance was able to translate for what you see on the stage and what you see as far as or not just the stage, but as far as the screen goes? Oh, wait.
Yes, of course. I enjoyed it, and yeah, I felt like all the characters doing the great job, and I felt like especially the roles of TV announcers.
Yeah. Those are the TV
that
announcers. You guys for opening it up. George's
Perfect.
David, that was fabulous. And I think
Thank you.
one of the things that the way that you guys played off of each other was really enjoyable. Georges, would you like to speak a little bit more on your characters throughout the reading?
Yes. I really had like a connection with the script because I grew up in a household where they were huge boxing fans. So this was so familiar to me. And so I could actually had an understanding of the mechanics of what goes on in the ring, and the audience's responses, and the commentators. One of the great commentators that my grandparents and my parents, like Howard Cosell or someone like that. And so I just kind of like connected with that and tried to incorporate that into my character.
Amazing. One of the things, just to go back briefly, we were talking about that moment between LUCA, Tom, and LIZZIE, and now one of the things that we had mentioned, this piece, it goes back to 1900s, 1909, but we're updating it, right, for modern day audiences, for the modern day relationships. And one of the things that I noticed was at the beginning of that scene that starts at bottom of 12, the action lines. Jan, you said that I believe the argument, it says LUCA, the store owner, Italian American, argues with LIZZIE, Tom's wife, a thin, worn woman in her early 40s. But then what goes on to happen in the actual scene itself is an argument between LUCA and Tom. And they're arguing about LIZZIE, they're arguing about the family, but LIZZIE isn't really a part of the argument itself. And then once that moment with Tom is over and that kind of tension and that moment is resolved, then LIZZIE is able to have this moment with LUCA that's a lot more intimate, and you kind of get a lot more understanding into LUCA's tenderness, that soft spot, as David mentioned, and also into the stakes, or that has to do with the family as well, and what this all means. Because for LIZZIE and for Tom, this is about, starvation or life and death for their family. So LIZZIE, could you speak a little bit more on how you felt about that moment, the scene overall, and the script? Yeah.
Thank you. I'm trying to unmute myself. Yeah, I was really curious about other aspects of Lizzie's character because to me, we got to see her love and support for Tom for real in the scenes in this script. But I'm just wondering, what does it look like when she's frustrated with him? And she's probably not going to do it in front of LUCA, but even in the house, he eats all the food, even the food she was going to give to the kids. And I'm wondering what would make a mother react in this way. Is it just that she's just saying it just because he's got enough on his mind and she doesn't want to burden him? Or is there more to it? And how does she really feel about it? You know, how does she really feel about the fact that once again she had to figure out, you know, how to get food on the table. Once again, she had to go and beg LUCA for food. And once again, now she has to scramble and figure out how to feed her kids. And I love that there was the love between them, even with all this hardship. I wouldn't want that part to go away. But I'm wondering, like, what's the other layer of, you know, what would a challenging moment between the two of them look like? Roger, it looks like you want to piggyback.
Yeah,
Well, no,
Roger, please.
I love the fact that this script is all about like a man trying to provide for his family, but at the end of the day, it's Lizzie that provides for the family. 100%. Like she's the one that gets the food. He's like all about like, man, I'm like getting money. Lizzie provides. Like she's the one that saves the day. It's like period, the end. And so he's like, so you said like when she's frustrated, I'm like, when is she not frustrated with him? Like he's eating all the food. He's like living in the past. It's I like the entire time I was reading this, I was like, oh.
And to me, it's like
it's Lizzie's.
To me, it's also like what would, and it doesn't have to end up in the actual script, but like what would the scene where they actually have all the money, you know, like a flashback. What does that moment look like? The moment where they actually have all the money and he's spending it, you know, like crazy. What does she feel about it, you know, back then? Like, is it that back then she was also living in denial and now they're both in there because she also didn't know any better? Or like back then, did she try to like say like, you know, maybe we should save for a rainy day? Like, what was her stance back then? I think that would teach me a lot about who she is right now, like how she was back then. And I don't know, I'm just curious because I was, you know, trying to understand her character, learn more about their family life. What is Tom, you know, what is his relationship like with his kids? You know, all of that. What does that look like? But I really, really love the fact that you could tell that these two people love each other and that she's going to be there for him. She's not going to abandon him, even though it's hard. They're in it together. And that part of the script really filled me up with a lot of hope for like, maybe this is rock bottom, you know, for Tom, but he has Lizzie. So like, they'll figure it out. So I really love that aspect, but I'm so curious to learn more.
Or he's her rock in her pockets, dragging her down, like depending how you come at it.
Yeah, no, completely. And it really, I mean, Tadas, I don't know if you've kind of made that decision yet as you move to expand the piece, but that is definitely something to think about. You know, what has the relationship been like in the past when they were successful, when Tom was, you know, that young man taking out Bill and in the prime of his career versus where he is now? Why does she allow him to eat up all the food and you know, let their kids starve? Why does she stand by and you know, why isn't she talking to Luca about getting a divorce as opposed to trying to get something on the table? But those are excellent things to think about character motivation wise. And Roger, I think you're absolutely right as far as there is so much talk of Tom doing this to save his family, which is a really fascinating thing writing wise and just thematically. You have this character that is so vocal about protecting his family and so vocal about the you know, providing, but all of his actions are to serve the ego and to serve the self and to serve this purpose of showing, you know, his success. Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Daphne.
Yeah, I think actually, like, to me, he actually maybe is doing the best that he can, which is why, like, I like felt like, okay, Lizzie can have compassion because like he's just, in it over his head and like he's, doing the best that he can, and maybe the best that he can isn't that great, but like she can't hold it against him that like this is just the best that he can do. I don't know. But also like what was a moment, what did it look like when she was doing the best of her that she could and it wasn't really enough, like like maybe he was there for her and like there's a lot more there that like I don't think that Tom is just all bad and just like completely a complete failure. I just think he's dealing with a lot, and it's he's dealing with it to the best of his ability. That's the way I saw it, at least. But I think there's so much more to explore about that dynamic.
Absolutely. Roger, I want to get to you. And then Jan, you have been waiting very patiently and amazingly, so we will get to you in just one moment. But Roger, go ahead.
Just really quick, piggybacking off of Daphne, I think it's just heartbreaking that if he is like doing the best that he can, he's like 100%ing it. And that's why it's so heartbreaking that it's just like, he's pedal to the metal, but it's still just not enough. But you also mentioned something about divorce. Like, why isn't she talking to Luca about divorce? If this is written in 1909, like divorce isn't a thing back then, right? Like if she's a single mother of two, like that's almost like you're screwed, right? So I guess like the cultural and like the timeliness or whatever of like the two different periods would be interesting to explore as well. Just like a woman's like what the options were back then versus now, and like how that that's an interesting thing to look at.
I mean, that opens up a whole other can of worms. It is an amazing topic. Jan, to zoom out on the entire piece, you kind of were the voice of the piece, the voice of the narration, taking us through some of the other characters, the background characters, but you are present, as eyes on the whole thing. So I just wanted to get your perspective as how you saw the piece, the cohesive arc of the piece, just your overall feelings, and anything you'd like to mention.
Oh, thank you. As I was narrating, I was always also an audience and observing each character and each scene. In this short story, there's a lot. I felt each character's feelings, what they're going through, and just thinking beyond like what Lizzie was saying, what is her life? And then this is a story about someone who was a champion once and now has no money to feed their family. What is that like? So all these thoughts are going through my head. And Luca, thinking about Tom's family and know them for years, what that would feel like to say no to that. So there's a lot of emotions going through while I was reading, and it did feel like a radio show in a way. I think this could be a radio show. So it was it was a lot, and I can relate to a lot. Being young, aging, in the dream, you feel it. So I was feeling all of that. Yeah.
It's amazing. There is a lot of emotion to this piece, and there are so many different levers that you can pull as you're trying to find the real core of it. There's so many opportunities to expand here. Just to be mindful of everyone's time. It is 1 o'clock, and I know that we said that we were going to run a little longer, but that was keeping into mind this larger workshop. But I would just like to thank you all for this more intimate setting as a actors roundtable, because this is, I think, people who go back and watch this will get some really great information from you guys. Just what you bring to the piece, what you brought to, as David was saying, even the physicality with your vocals, with how you brought everything was just fabulous. I would just like to open it up one more time to you guys. Anything you'd like to say to Taras, anything you'd like to say about your roles, anything in general. Roger, we can go ahead and start with you and work our way down.
I mean, I think this is just a timeless piece. Like, thank you for adapting it. I would love to see more. Like, honestly, the discussions that we were having just now were great, and just kind of fleshing it out. But also, I think the beauty of it is, I guess, the simplicity of it, the open-endedness of it, just the fact that reading it back in college versus reading it now, I like completely different viewpoints of it, and I think that's the beauty of seemingly simple pieces like this, where it'll hit you in different spots depending on where you are in your life. And yeah, I'd love to see more of this. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. David, your closing thoughts.
Well, I agree that there is a timelessness to this piece, and I think that's both an opportunity and a danger, a caution, because a lot of boxing movies have been made. Boxing is one of the probably classic, I hate to say arena, but it's the classic arena for people to have hubris take over their notion of when time is passing. I mean, the notion of the champion being laid low by time is as strong in sports in general as anything else. You know, they talk about writers getting tired longer in their career, but with sports, it's clear. You're either having your hand held up in victory, or you're lying down on the canvas, or you can't answer the bell again. So I think that that's an opportunity to have, how does this story replay on those old, on those traditional, you know, very human aspects. Here's a guy who's determined to do it. Willpower alone at some point is not enough. What is it like with his family? What's his relationship to his kids? How old are they? I didn't know. How to make this an individual story that we're looking at this particular version of it now. Just like in our society, we are looking at a particular version of threats to it that have happened all through history in a lot of different societies. And now the Lazy Susan has swung around and it's in front of us. So and because we have never experienced it before, it all seems unique to us, but it is part of a longer story. So I suggest that if you're looking to make this story more particular and stick with the classic bones of it that Jack London, of course, picked out, that's what I would say, that the opportunity is absolutely right next to the dangers of this. So just sort of be mindful of that as you go forward. That's what I would think.
That's fabulous. That's fabulous. Thank you, David. Georges, your closing thoughts.
Yes. I think that he's off to a really good start with this, and I'd like to see how it goes in the future. And but I think it's really good, and I'd like to follow along with him. If he could share his contact information with us, that would be great, so that we can see how this work actually develops. That would be really nice. I'd like to see that.
Thank you so much. Daphne, your closing thoughts.
Yeah, I think I sort of covered most of what I wanted to say, but really, you know, it's a really poignant story. I think that, as everyone has mentioned, really great start, really exciting. And I would also love to continue seeing how this piece develops, and thank you for having me.
And finally, last but certainly not least, Jan, if you could share with us your closing thoughts.
I think pretty much everyone said what I wanted to say. It's a pretty deep story, even if it's simple. It's classic. So there's a beauty in that. So I do also like to see how it develops, and how it resonates with the audience. Thank you
so much. Thank you so much. Once again, that has been Jan Mizushima as the narrator, Daphne Macy as Lizzie, Georges as Corbett and Sandel, David as Morgan, LUCA, Silghenny, and Roger Ye as Tom King. I'd like to thank Tadas for bringing us this wonderful script, Tadas Bambine. Tadas, if you're able to join us on camera, just to take a quick bow. We'd also like to extend once again a thank you to the Asian American Film Lab for being able to host and put on Unfinished Works. Thank you all, and I hope you're able to join us for November session. This recording will be available and posted online for people to go back and watch. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us at Unfinished Works Coordinator at film-lab.org, or you can go ahead and reach us out. Oh, yes. Okay. Amazing. Titus just messaged a thank you to everyone in the chat. So for the cast, I will make sure that you guys get Titus's contact information and everything. Thank you all once again, and enjoy the rest of your days. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you,
You too. Bye,
Keelan.
everybody.